Mom always believed she could get away with anything. She had a talent for charming people, twisting stories, and making herself the victim even when she was the one causing the damage. Growing up, I watched her lie with a straight face, manipulate relatives, and turn every situation in her favor. But nothing prepared me for what she did to Grandma, the woman who raised her, protected her, and gave her everything she had. The betrayal was so cold it still chills me when I think about it. It started slowly, with Mom complaining about how difficult Grandma had become. She said Grandma was forgetful, stubborn, and demanding, even though anyone who spent 10 minutes with her knew she was as sharp as ever. Grandma was 80 but quick-witted, humorous, and still cooked better than any of us. But Mom insisted she was exhausted and needed a break. We didn't realize that she wasn't talking about rest, she was talking about a plan. One Saturday morning, Mom announced that she had found a nice place for Grandma. She made it sound like a luxury resort, not a nursing home. Grandma looked confused, and I could tell she sensed something was wrong. She didn't argue, though. She simply asked, "Why, dear? I'm fine here." Mom forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes and said, "It's temporary. You'll like it. They'll take good care of you." The home wasn't terrible, but it was not where Grandma belonged. It smelled like disinfectant and loneliness. Grandma stood at the doorway, small and uncertain, with her hands trembling slightly. I stayed with her as long as I could, trying to comfort her, promising it would only be for a short time. But Mom couldn't even pretend. She dropped Grandma off and practically skipped back to the car, humming like she'd just completed a chore she'd been delaying. It only got worse from there. Within a week, Mom had put Grandma's house on the market. Her house. The house she had built with Grandpa brick by brick, the house filled with memories, laughter, and decades of love. Mom didn't even blink. She walked through the halls and pointed at things she wanted to sell. She invited her friends over, offering them furniture like she owned the place. She bragged about how she'd finally be free, no more responsibility, no more nagging, no more old lady drama. She said it with a laugh that made my stomach twist. One evening, she poured herself a glass of wine and toasted the empty living room. "We're free," she said, leaning back as if she had achieved something admirable. "No more babysitting." I stared at her, feeling a mix of anger and disbelief. How could someone be so heartless? Grandma wasn't a burden, she was family. She was the core of our home. Mom just waved me off and said I was being dramatic. But karma has a way of moving quietly, patiently, and then striking at the perfect moment. A few days later, my phone rang. It was Grandma. Her voice was softer than usual, but steady. "Sweetheart," she said, "could you bring me a copy of my deed?" My heart dropped. She knew. She knew Mom hadn't put her in the home temporarily. She knew the house was being sold. I asked her how she found out, and she chuckled lightly. "I have my ways." The next day, when I visited her, she wasn't alone. A man in a gray suit stood beside her, holding a folder thick with papers. He introduced himself as her lawyer. Not a new lawyer, her longtime lawyer, one Mom didn't even know existed. Grandma had called him the moment she realized what Mom was doing. She had not been as unaware as she seemed. Grandma looked at me with calm, knowing eyes. "Your mother thinks she's clever," she said. "But she forgets I didn't get to 80 by being foolish." The lawyer opened his folder and revealed documents that left me speechless, updated wills, property protections, and a living trust that Mom clearly knew nothing about. Grandma had prepared everything years ago, quietly and wisely. The house wasn't Mom's to sell. Legally, she couldn't touch it. But Grandma didn't stop there. She instructed her lawyer to contact the real estate agent and halt the sale immediately. She had him send letters to Mom, informing her of the legal consequences of unauthorized property transfer. Mom had no idea what was coming. I left the nursing home that day with a strange feeling, relief mixed with the weight of what was about to happen. Mom thought she had won, but she was about to learn that Grandma wasn't weak, helpless, or confused. She had just trusted the wrong daughter for too long. When Mom received the legal notice 2 days later, her confidence shattered. Her face turned pale, her eyes wide with disbelief and fear. She wasn't free, she wasn't in control, and for the first time in her life, she realized Grandma wasn't someone she could manipulate. And that was only the beginning. Mom always believed her power came from control, control of the money, control of the house, control of every decision in the family. After she dumped Grandma in the nursing home and tried to sell her house, she walked around with an arrogance that made the air in the room feel heavy. She laughed loudly, bragged to her friends, and even started planning renovations for a home she believed would soon be hers. But all that confidence evaporated the moment Grandma's secret lawyer arrived with documents that turned her world upside down. It all began when Mom got the thick envelope in the mail. I was sitting in the living room when she tore it open. The moment she saw the legal letterhead, her shoulders stiffened. Her eyes scanned the first page, and her face drained of color. "This must be a mistake," she whispered, but her voice trembled. She flipped page after page, each one cutting deeper than the last. By the time she finished, the hand holding the papers shook violently. I didn't say anything, she wouldn't have listened anyway. But inside, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: justice. Grandma had been wronged, and now she was fighting back. The next day, Grandma's lawyer, Mr. Fulton, requested a meeting at the nursing home. Mom tried to refuse, but he calmly informed her that if she didn't show up, the next conversation would happen in court. She didn't sleep at all that night. I could hear her pacing, muttering to herself, trying to figure out a way to spin things in her favor. But there was no way out. Not this time. When we arrived at the nursing home, Grandma was sitting in a private lounge, dressed neatly in a soft blue cardigan, her hair brushed perfectly, looking stronger than she had in weeks. She glanced up when Mom walked in, and although her expression was gentle, there was a firmness in her eyes, a quiet strength Mom had underestimated. Mr. Fulton opened his briefcase and placed several documents on the table. The room fell silent except for the sound of paper sliding across the wood. "Mrs. Avery," he began, addressing Mom, "your attempt to list and sell Ms. Lorraine's property is not only unauthorized but also illegal." Mom snapped her head up, anger flashing in her eyes. "I'm her daughter," she said defensively. "I have every right." "No, Mr. Fulton interrupted, his voice calm but firm. "You have no legal claim to her property. The deed is protected by a living trust, established years ago. You were never given power of attorney. You have no authority to place her in a facility without consent, nor to liquidate her assets." Mom opened her mouth, but only silence came out. Her fingers clawed at her purse as if searching for a way to anchor herself. Grandma leaned forward, her voice soft but steady. "I trusted you," she said. "I let you help me, even though you complained, even though you made me feel like a burden. But you threw me away the moment it was convenient. You treated me like a problem, not a person." Mom's eyes filled with tears, not from guilt, but from fear. The one thing she cared about, the house, slipped further from her reach with every word. Mr. Fulton continued, sliding another document forward. "This is a notice of revocation. All informal permissions previously given to you have been withdrawn. From this moment forward, you are not to make any decisions regarding Ms. Lorraine's care, property, finances, or legal matters." Mom shook her head in disbelief. "You can't do this to me," she said, turning to Grandma. "I'm your daughter. You stopped acting like one," Grandma replied, her voice cracking for the first time. "I raised you with love. I gave you everything I could. But you chose greed over family. I won't let you ruin what your father and I built." The lawyer added one more blow. "Additionally, the attempted property sale will be investigated. There may be consequences." Mom gasped, clutching her chest. "Consequences? This is insane. I was trying to help." The lie echoed in the room, hollow and heavy. I watched Grandma take a slow breath before speaking again. "You weren't helping me. You were helping yourself. And now, I'm helping myself." Mom stood abruptly, her chair scraping loudly. Her face was twisted in frustration, humiliation, and fear. She stormed out of the room without saying another word, leaving the door wide open behind her. When she was gone, Grandma leaned back, her shoulders relaxing as if a great weight had finally lifted. She looked at me and smiled gently. "Thank you for standing by me," she said. "I'm not as alone as she thought." I took her hand, feeling how warm and steady it was. "You're never alone," I told her. Outside, Mom paced in the parking lot, wiping angry tears from her cheeks. She had lived her whole life believing she was always one step ahead, always untouchable. But now she understood. Grandma was not weak, not helpless, and not someone she could discard for convenience. The truth had caught up with her, and the freedom she celebrated so loudly had dissolved into nothing. And deep down, she knew there was no undoing what she had done.